Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? It's always interesting post-draft and certainly free agency when content creators start looking at different angles. And one of the things that Dan Graziano did over at ESPN was he said, he looked at lingering quarterback questions for all 32 NFL teams. And for New Orleans, I don't know, maybe it doesn't feel like there are any quarterback questions. I mean, we know Derek Carr is the starting quarterback, and we'll see who ultimately wins the backup job. But he asked the question, is the clock ticking on Derek Carr's time in New Orleans? And he mentioned the deal that Derek Carr did a year ago, and with the way they restructured Derek Carr's deal, he carries a $50 million dead cap number in 2025, meaning if the Saints were to move on from Derek Carr after this season, he would count $50 million against the cap in 2025 to not be on the roster. It's why you've heard me pretty consistently say that Derek Carr, the Saints are financially committed to Derek Carr for the next 2 years. My apologies, sorry. But what was interesting to me is I started to think about this in terms of, okay, let's say hypothetically the Saints had a situation arise like what happened in San Francisco, where your seventh-round pick quarterback, Brock Purdy, emerges and proves to be not only a competent starter, but a really good starter. And even though you got free agent dollars tied into Jimmy Garoppolo and a top 5 overall pick and a Trey Lance, they moved on from those two guys because they had their quarterback on a really team-friendly rookie deal. It's a seventh-round pick. Guy's making less than $1 million a year. And you feel like you got your franchise. So, I mean, I guess a scenario like that could unfold. Let's say, hypothetically, Spencer Rattler blows everybody out of the water, or Jake Haener takes a massive leap in year 2. I don't think any of us are predicting that to happen right now, but let's say hypothetically it does. Then you have this conversation. But what was so interesting to me is I remember a couple of years ago, it was 2021, when the Eagles decided to move on from Carson Wentz. And it was a similar situation, as you recall. Wentz was on his way to what appeared to be an MVP season. He gets hurt. Nick Foles leads them to the Super Bowl. The Eagles have to make a decision. They decide to invest the money in Carson Wentz and not Nick Foles, and that ended up proving to be a poor decision. And a couple of years later, of course, they draft Jalen Hurts, and Hurts becomes their starter. And when they got rid of Carson Wentz, the Eagles, they ate $33 million in dead money, which at the time was the largest dead cap hit ever. So again, this is 2021. This is just 2 full seasons ago, so 3 years. That was the largest dead cap hit ever. By the way, the previous largest dead cap hit ever was Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks in this would have been, let's see, he signed the contract. So 2020, Brandon Cooks, when the Rams let him go, ate $21.8 million. So keep in mind, Brandon Cooks, $21.8 million dead money was the most dead money ever. A year later, the Eagles eat $33.8 million in dead money from Carson Wentz. And it felt like this almost unimaginable number. But since then, that number has been beaten 3 times. The Carson Wentz $33.8 million dead cap number is only the 4th highest dead cap number ever. Wentz at 33.8. The Packers ate $40.3 million on Aaron Rodgers. Matt Ryan's deal with the Colts, they ended up eating $40.53 million. And then, of course, Russell Wilson and the Broncos just ate $85 million on Russell Wilson's deal. And what's more, as I look at all of these deals, where you look at the most dead cap money ever, Stephon Diggs, this was just this year, $31 million. Now, the Russell Wilson deal from Seattle was $26 million. Julio Jones, back in 2021, $23 million. DeAndre Hopkins, his contract was set to run through 2024, $22.6 million. Jared Goff, his dead number with the Rams at $22 million. And there's the Brandon Cooks deal I mentioned. That's your top 10 biggest dead cap hits in NFL history. My point is, all of them are in the last 5 years. And I get it, contracts are increasing. So when you get rid of players, you're going to take largely the way it's structured, a higher dead cap number. My point is, even the one 2 years ago, 2 full seasons ago, 3 years ago, Carson Wentz, that was this almost inexplicable. It beat the previous dead cap number by $10 million. It was insane when we talked about it. That's been beaten now 3 times. My point is, in saying all this, I've continued to say the Saints are pot committed and financially committed to Derek Carr for the next 2 years because of how that deal is structured. What I'm here to tell you is, as irresponsible fiscally as the New Orleans Saints are, maybe they are just crazy enough to part ways with Derek Carr after this year and eat $50 million. I mean, that's their whole approach. Restructure deals, kick the can down the road. Keep buying on credit. The cap will go up. We'll make more money. We'll pay it off later. That's the Saints' approach. Now, a big part of that would obviously be one of 2 things. Either Derek Carr has a miserable season this year, or Rattler, Haener, one of those guys, gives them confidence to believe that's your franchise. And so they're confident to move on from Derek Carr. And one of the reasons that would allow you to do that financially, move on from Derek Carr, is if you have what you feel like is a starting quarterback on a rookie deal. And yes, when you're talking about 2 mid-round picks that you have, a 4th and a 5th round pick on rookie contracts, yes, that's much more financially plausible than if you were going to try to sign a free agent deal or pay a top-tier free agent or use a high draft pick, a first-round draft pick on a quarterback. So maybe, just maybe, I've been saying it wrong. I mean, the Niners, they moved on from Jimmy G, but Jimmy G took a pay cut initially, and then they traded Trey Lance. So, the best-case scenario for the Saints is one of 2 things. One, Derek Carr becomes awesome, and he proves me wrong. That's one. And I don't think that's going to happen, but that's one scenario. Number 2 is one of those guys on their rookie deals, Haener or Rattler, proves to this organization that they're ready to be your starter, your franchise, and it makes it financially plausible to get rid of Derek Carr and eat a giant cap number because, my goodness, look at the number of teams just in the last half decade that have continued. As much as contracts have continued to be broken, record number of contracts, dollar spend broken, the dead money is as well. And maybe Derek Carr will be part of that next year. Or maybe he'll go win a Super Bowl, and you'll all point and laugh at me. I'd prefer that, as a matter of fact. I'd much rather you point and laugh at me have my team win a Super Bowl. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.